35 million. That's how many people die each year from non-communicable diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and cancers. That's 60% of all deaths worldwide. And 10 million of those are preventable. My Aunt Helen died of complications from type 2 diabetes. She was 67. She died before her time. My aunt is not alone. In the United States, over 16 million people have diabetes. In the next 13 years, over 270 million people worldwide will have diabetes. Since 1987, the death rates to diabetes have gone up 45%, while the death rates to cancer, heart disease, and stroke have declined. But diabetes doesn't strike people at random. If you are poor or your families have experienced chronic hardship, you are 3 to 6 times more likely to have diabetes. So I'm an anthropologist, and I'm really interested in the ways scientists and health advocates of all kinds work to understand and solve a problem like diabetes. And I'm really worried. If we can't stop this trend, this one disease alone will cripple our economies, our communities, and our families. Now, you would think an emerging epidemic like this would trigger a coordinated international response, but I've been really disappointed at what I've found. Geneticists find genetic solutions, clinicians find clinical ones, and policymakers make policy interventions. It's not the professionals' fault. In fact, our training and our reward systems practically guarantee that we only look at the world through our own disciplinary training. And most of us don't talk to one another. So, here's the real problem. Most of the planet doesn't have what it needs to live healthy lives. And if we spend so much of our time focusing on problems, we're going to miss a very, very important aspect: the solutions. So today, I want to talk to you not about the problems, but about the solutions. About solutions that are right beneath our nose. And I know they're there because in working with an inner city neighborhood that is incredibly challenged, I witness people who day after day come together to make their neighborhoods better, and they are not sick. And by focusing on the problems, we miss understanding what it is that they're doing right. Around the world, there are hundreds of thousands of people who are working to solve type 2 diabetes. And if you look at the research, the stuff that gets pressed, you see a common pattern. We know how many people have it, who has the highest risks, how to measure it, how it works in our body, and the best medicines to treat it. When it comes to our problems, we know a lot. But what would happen if instead of asking why people are sick, we asked why most of us are not? If we looked at the problem from the other way around. So, I tell my medical students, the patient, the person that they see before them is not their primary patient. And it's not the one that can't come to them because they don't have medical care. I tell them that the person that they should be treating is the hospital and the clinic and the doctors and the residents who are training them. Now, I don't say this so that they don't pay attention to the patient who is seeking medical advice, but to draw their attention to one fundamental fact. The institutions and training that were designed to treat people once they're sick prevents us from seeing what's really going on in people's lives. After all, most causes of disease and most causes of death occur as a result of the context of a person's life, the conditions under which we live. And if we're too busy focusing on the problems, on people after they get sick, we're going to miss the opportunity to see that fact. Not their biology, and certainly not their bodies after they've gotten sick. So, in fact, it was by working with my neighborhood partners that I realized my overeducated colleagues and I were way too focused for far too long on the problems and not enough on the solutions. For decades, people have been focusing on the problems. And for decades, it's not stopped diabetes. It's not even slowed it down. Now, it's an anthropological truism that we can only imagine the future through the lens of our past and our present. And I worry that focusing on the problems will leave out the people. Where are the people in these problem-oriented approaches? We're the data points. We're the objects of our research, the objects of our well-intentioned interventions, and sometimes our pity. And when people are only imagined for what they don't have, for the ways and reasons they suffer, we can't see what's right before our eyes. The ways that they find to survive, the ways they even sometimes find to thrive, their strategies, their imaginations, and their insight. But for the rest of us, to get beyond this problem-oriented approach requires that we have a radical faith that people are greater than their pain, their problems, and their illnesses. It will require that we enter into sustained relationships with people who sometimes are living under extreme difficult circumstances. It will then, however, enable us to learn that true expertise comes from the wisdom of direct experience. For example, in the neighborhoods where I work, we've created a process where we can teach one another about the problems and the solutions. There, I've learned about health promoters who do whatever it takes to support their neighbors to manage their diabetes. And when a research team and I went out and documented 18 months of community dialogue affecting 11,000 people, including 11,000 people, we learned that residents say feeling unsafe, opportunities for their kids, and civic leadership were what was needed to improve their health. So I watched in admiration as they took on gangs, their fear of police harassment, and a neglected infrastructure, because these were the things they knew were making them sick. Now, this neighborhood, which is some 8 miles from here, has 38 active gangs. 70% of them are poor, and 40% of them don't have health insurance. But these neighborhood leaders know that there's only one way out: to make community with their neighbors. I didn't say a community, because community is a verb. It's an action. So they're building parks, creating youth leadership councils, and forming neighborhood police commissions. So for those of you who are listening to me and you're thinking, the problems are too big, and what can I do? And you're feeling that secret despair or possibly guilt, I wish you could spend just 15 minutes with someone who is working, in spite of incredible odds, to make their neighbors and their neighborhoods better. You will be inspired, and you will be challenged to not think about people only through their problems. Now, communities are the canaries in the coal mine, but we all need to learn this lesson. We need to learn that, as my neighborhood partners have taught me, every challenge is connected to every other. That for our healthy cells and healthy organs and healthy bodies, context matters most. That our social ecologies determine our well-being. We need to learn that embodied wisdom is the insight that can solve all of our problems. And if we learn this, we will tap into the most powerful source of change that we know, each and every one of us. And so I invite you to join me in a global social movement. In every neighborhood, village, city, and workplace, there are people coming together to make the world better. Find them. Join with them. Learn from them that deep embodied wisdom is the insight we need. And we will remember that no pill, no product, and no scientific discovery is as powerful as the human spirit. Reclaim this ancient wisdom. Find those solutions right before us. Everyday miracles carried out by everyday heroes whose lived wisdom is the very insight we've been looking for.